Hello, welcome to Tidbit Tuesday, a bite-sized stories about living benefits. My journey became so profoundly personal when my husband suffered a stroke, inspired me to dive into the world of life insurance, asset, and legacy protection. This passion turned into a mission and leading me to become a licensed agent, dedicate to advocate and to help women protect their mental and financial well-being through living benefits. And inside that asset is always a key component of how to protect your assets. So you have totally in control. And today, coming back is my good friend, Isela Simpson. She is an estate planning attorney, and she's going to give us a little more detail insight. And I'm going to have her back regularly. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, please feel free to put in the comment, and either we will, we'll hook you up with Isla privately, or we're going to bring that up to address the next round of Tidbit Tuesday if you don't want to talk to her just yet. But Isla, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so what are we going to talk about today?
About estate planning. We are going to talk a little bit about life insurance and how it interacts with estate planning.
Awesome. Life insurance is something that critical, and I didn't know how critical it is until my husband gets sick suddenly, like unexpectedly. He was in good health and he was in good shape, and then boom, he got a stroke. And how many people we know out there have heart attack, cancer, stroke, and all the other stuff that nobody's planned for, and it just turn around so quick. And so I know that it is important to not just have a death benefit, which is most of the life insurance are focusing on, but I'm focusing on the living benefit. When people are sick, are they able to accelerate the death benefit of their policy and extracting out a certain amount to take care of their loved ones? Now, so it is important why it is tied to estate planning, right? Because at some point we are going to die at some point. And that's going to become a part that maybe your spouse know what you want. Maybe your spouse is not there anymore. Does your kid know what you want? And that's where the estate planning is so crucial. And how does that tie with life insurance and estate planning? Can you explain a little bit about that for us, Isla?
Yes. So first, usually one of my first questions when I meet my clients are, do you have life insurance? And I am so surprised by how many of them say no, because I work a lot with young couples that have kids. And how terrifying is that to think if something happens to you, which we're not expecting it to, they're young.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just shake it off and say, I'm not going to die for a while, but you never know. You never know that you could get in a car accident. You could get terminally ill, like Lea said. So life insurance is so important because it makes you think about, if something happens to me, my kids are going to be financially stable because I'm going to leave them this amount of money. And there's all kinds of different life insurance policies. And that's what I try to explain to them. And Lea can probably know a little more about this, but you can have a larger death benefit policy or a term life policy, which is very inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have a second policy that provides you with living benefits,
right,
which is a great way to have your family covered. So how does it tie into estate planning? Well, it's important that you have your beneficiaries correctly named in your form, because your beneficiary form for your life insurance controls no matter what we do. If you sit down with me, no matter what we do, that controls. But especially if you have kids, you need to make sure that you're setting up a way for them to get that money, because not a lot of people know this, but in Florida, if you leave your kids any large amount of money, which a life insurance policy will qualify for that, your kids won't get that. It'll go through the courts will hold it. And then every time they need something, they'll have to petition the court. And then when they're 18, they'll get it all at once. So let's say you have $300,000 in life insurance. Imagine getting that when you turn 18, getting $300,000 at once when you get 18. So when you work through your estate planning, what I do is I go through with you and I set up, okay, well, what do you want them to be able to have access to that money? When do you want them to get it? How much do you want them to get at a time? And that way you're controlling how much is coming out. You're making sure that you have a responsible adult that's moving that money to them while they're still under 18 so that all their basic needs are taken care of. The shelter, health, education, anything that they need is taken care of without having to go through court. And then you're also deciding how much they're getting after they turn 18 and when. So they could get some at 20, some at 21, some at 22, until you decide they're old enough to take it all or responsible enough to take it all. That helps because you control the flow of money out of the insurance policy, but you're also helping them because they're not going to be taxed when they get that big chunk of money all at once. It's not going to be taxed as income. So yeah,
I am so dumbfounded when I learn about that aspect when I am doing my insurance, not just the licensing, but I'm learning as I go along. And how incredibly scary when not just when, if something happened, like you said, you have young kid who's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 even. And then they are the beneficiary, which is a lot of parents make the mistake of naming the minority child as the beneficiary and don't have contingency beneficiary either. And I think that is another really important aspect, maybe for a different episode. But I'm learning that your kid cannot access until they're 18. So what are they going to do during that time? Because Uncle Sam is holding that for 10 years, 15 years, or whatever the child is under 18 and they're minor. So I want to share a little bit of my personal experience. I did not think about a will, a trust, or anything until I left the country back then when my son was like 8 years old. My husband and I need to go. I mean, we took a trip to Italy. And then every time I take a trip, I get nervous because we are on the airplane. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, are we going to coming back on time? Things happen. So that is the only time it pushed me to do things. My first will, it was when we went to Spain and I'm only doing things when there's a deadline for me. And the word debt sometimes it scare people. It's like, yeah, but there's a timeline that I need to do. So I set up some basic will. I mean, if even you don't have a trust yet, have a will and have a trust. Like I immediately put my brother and my sister, in charge. If something happened, they're going to be managing my asset for my son until he's 18 years old. And it doesn't even have to be elaborate, right? I mean, it's just something that is indicate that you have somebody until you really want to, if you have a complicated asset, then you're going to sit down with an attorney. But at least have something. If you are traveling, if you're on the road all the time, I would say that make sure you have something in writing and somebody's in charge of that piece of writing, a lawyer or somebody, and have multiple people, because God forbid your children need you. And if you're not there for them, at least you have somebody to be there to take care of those complicated stuff for them. And that's not to mention about what Isela talked about, the tax. I mean, once they're inheriting that money, do you want to give 30-40% of whatever $1 million policy? Even if you're thinking about big, you're going to protect your family, you buy a policy huge, and then you don't take the step to protect that. So protecting the family is the life insurance, but protecting that asset in that life insurance is the trust, is the estate planning. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And sitting down with someone like Lea, which I always say you should talk to Lea, I always send them to someone like you, Lea, that can talk them through, well, what do you want the life insurance to do for you? And then help them calculate how much they need and what kind they need.
Yeah.
Because that also varies according to your age, what your family, like your goals. So it's so important to sit down with someone. And I think a lot of times people are scared to do it because they're like, oh, this is going to be expensive. but it's not, it's really not. There's something out there for everyone.
Right, right. And even the most low wages people entitled to protect whatever they make, whatever they earn. You know, we don't have to be rich to have an attorney. We don't have to be rich to have a life policy. We don't have to be rich to do the thing, because if we doing it right, we save everyone grief. And to be honest, I didn't think about all of that until I was in the ER, in the emergency room, look at my husband who supposed to protect me, take care of everything. And now the switch flipped. And now I have to be the one who's stepping up and advocate for him and take care of whatever that we built, because I don't want it to knock off just because medical expenses, which is very common nowadays. People get bankruptcy, Chapter 11, and homeless because of medical bills. So this is just a little tidbit, and I don't know if we passed 10 minutes, but there's so much to talk about. And I am so grateful for Isela to come back and share with me a little bit more. We can make this a series. Like I said, this Tidbit Tuesday, I will have other agents to come on and share their story, and I might have clients come on to share their story, or potential client who want to learn more about it. But I know Isela will be the stable guest, because she has so much knowledge, and we always work hand in hand, because there's no one part of life is isolated from other part, because they all interconnected. So thank you, Isela, and I hope this trigger a little bit of things that you can think about how you can protect your family, so everybody will have a peace of mind and enjoy life without worry. Isela, information is igslegal.com, right?
That's my website. All my information's on there.
Okay, so and my company is Thai Living Benefit. Thai is my dad's name, who passed away from 2 strokes. And I want to honor his legacy, and I want to advocate for my dad and for my husband and for the millions of women out there who do not have the information or afraid that is too complicated to understand. So that's why we're here, Tidbit Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're going to give you a little bits of our story, and to help you to help your family. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day.